What's up, everybody? This is episode number 32 of Rolling with Reason. If you're tuning in with me this week, thank you for tuning in. I have had one emotionally roller coaster intense week, that's for certain. But without further ado, let's go ahead and kick this thing off and kind of explain what it is. This is a podcast, and hopefully my co-host John is going to be on next week. I'm going to reach out to him and see if we can't do some video call magic work and be able to get him back in here on the show, and that would be amazing, because those conversations seem to be, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't say more productive. I would say these are just as productive for me and myself when I do these things by myself, but when John's on here, it's a little more entertaining for you guys, I think. So with that being said, we've read your comments, we agree with your comments, and we're working on it. So I'm going to try and figure some of that stuff out and get in touch with John. Moving right along, my week. Oh my goodness. So the new site I'm on, for those of you that know, I have changed where the location of where I'm working at is, and man, it is a muddy mess where I'm at. But that's okay. The mess isn't what's so bad. I suppose it's the intellectual environment that I have found myself within, this weird power-hungry type of, I don't know, almost like politics game that people play. It's just gross, and it's fatiguing, honestly, to the point of where, they don't know what you're doing, and they don't know kind of, what I'm doing, I suppose, or where I'm going, or what I do with my time, right? They just assume that I don't know anything, but due to the lack of planning and some other stuff, but nonetheless, it's fine. Moving on, we're going to get through that. Even though it sucks, we just truck right on through and things will be okay. They always are. Programming has been a struggle recently too, not because of the programming in and of itself, but I think what's happening is I've been doing the typing, the touch typing. That's completely new to me, but I got a couple weeks under my belt now. I'm moving pretty fast when I get into the zone, but I realize getting into the zone is a thing in of itself. Stretching the fingers and the hands, super important, but using that touch typing technique with trying to program and I suppose reiterate over the old patterns, I think I'm going to find myself going back over all of the previous works and the books that I've worked with Django projects on, which is the web framework I use, and kind of trying to remap and rewire my brain and maybe just do a bunch of iterations over that stuff so I can rebuild the foundation of what I know, but not just through the conceptual memory, but also the fingertips, since we're doing the touch typing thing. But yeah, I've been almost second guessing what I'm doing and what's going on and why is everything being so difficult right now. I just think it's because we're introducing stuff that's going to be more beneficial in the long run, and so there's the cognitive kind of load plus of touch typing plus the programming aspect. So that's kind of making things feel hindersome, to say the least. But that's okay, and that's all right. We just got to push through the struggle, and I know that the stuff is going to get better in that regard. So it's going to be fine. Perseverance and resilience are two exceptional, I think, traits or qualities to have and always work on. And I also, I know we touched on it last time in our last episode, in 31, we were talking about the Lex Friedman podcast, where he was talking with a couple AI guys. And, there was something that was often brought up, and I think what was brought up numerous times was this kind of concept of suffering, where it's hard to learn. When you're learning something new, if there's not a little bit of struggle, maybe you're not pushing that kind of cognitive retention load past the threshold of what actually becomes the process of learning. And so I just think that's where we're at, just at a really high stake right now. I think we're trying really hard to learn, as well as re-implement over stuff. And we're also trying to create our own personal website right now, but we're kind of putting that on hold so we can kind of get the touch typing stuff better and associating all that stuff. But I guess it's just frustrating. Your body and your mind and your fingers and programming kind of feels like a Ferrari, and then you bump yourself all the way back to a 50cc go-kart. You feel like you're barely moving, and you're like, what is happening? But, as you keep moving forward and keep learning it, I just think it can only get better for myself. And I think something to compare it to that's worth comparing to is I played guitar for a little while, and I enjoy doing that a lot. I don't do it so much as anymore, because of the stuff I'm doing now, but that kind of process of learning the keys or the notes on the neck, and getting to the point of where you can like touch play, I suppose, in a way, right, without looking, and the keyboard's kind of the same way. So that's what's happening. We're just kind of at that really difficult, like part of the curve, and we're slightly going up, and then at some point it's just gonna, it's gonna be amazing. So we just gotta keep reminding ourselves that it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be well worth the time and effort that we're putting in, and that's awesome. I have a video project I'm going to do for a dog again, and so that's going to be really cool. I'm excited to finish that up, start it and finish it up. I suppose I have to start it, right? I've kind of like sorted out and ordered the media around the way orientation. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but you catch what I'm saying. I'm trying to like organize the media so it's favorable for when I get to edit it and things like that. On the topic of reading some of the literature that we're reading, we're getting into the cases. So there was the law as the child, and then the law becomes a man, which is in the Alexander Solzhenitsyn Gulag Archipelago. And it's just kind of shedding light on what was happening within the legal system as far as cases and stuff. Some of them are extremely absurd. Like, I didn't think they could be as atrociously obvious and absurd as they are in conjunction with the government, with how it was handling itself and being new and everything that was going on there. And yeah, so that's not, it's not pretty. It's really gross. It just got me really worried, actually. And so I'm curious to see kind of where that keeps evolving into. It's right now working with and talking about the churches and the way they gave away all of their material possessions to try and deal with or help with the famine, but it's a very weird, crazy oriented kind of set of cases. And so if you guys haven't read that, I recommend you read that. I think it's phenomenal. It's doing really good. It's even helping with some of the perseverance stuff that I'm kind of traversing right now. So yeah, if you guys are kind of struggling with that same stuff, I think reading and doing stuff like that is phenomenal. I think it's super helpful. Another thing I've been doing this week is just trying to put some accessories onto a motorcycle that I have that I thought I was going to get rid of. I'm still not really sure exactly what I'm doing with it, but I'm putting on saddlebags. And these saddlebags are like these hard mount bags. So what that means is there's pretty much bolt holes that are like on the side of the fender. And so you kind of have to be really meticulous, you have to be meticulous about where you place those, how you do your measurements, for where you're going to drill the holes out. And so that is a process. I'm pretty comfortable with that stuff, but kind of the orientation of the bag, it's like a weird looking bag. It has like a swooped bottom and the back's kind of like pointed. So it's definitely made some difficulty in trying to deal with and manage that kind of maybe job, I suppose is what you could call it, even though it's for the motorcycle that is the one that I'm mine. But nonetheless, it's been tricky. It's frustrating at times, for sure. People, just in general, have been frustrating too, for sure, this week. I feel like I was just like at the gas station, one of the gas stations I go to, I frequent. And the people at the station were almost like, making crude and rude comments about me. I could hear them, and I walked in early in the morning. I get up early. And man, they're just, just making fun of me. I have no idea who I am or, what I do or anything that's kind of in resemblance to the whole work thing. Like, it's just, there's this weird thing that happens, and I don't know if it's a seasonal thing. I don't know if it's just I've been, like, brushing the stuff off, but it just feels like people are just, I don't know, like, being judgmental in a way that is just like, man, like, I just feel like that's not what I'd imagine as, like, being a good person, just being, like, super judgmental of people we don't know. But in the same hand, I'll also say, too, like, being judgmental of people that we do know is a weird thing in of itself if it's not directly with that person. So That's something to traverse as well. And then also making the acknowledgement that I'm being judgmental of the people that were being judgmental of me not being good people. So I think defining what good people is a hard thing, but I just think in general, kind of like making fun of somebody, just because I don't really know why. It just seems like a weird thing. That's something I was trying to navigate this week too. It's very troublesome for sure. Also, navigating kind of like my own self, I suppose, kind of like how much of a grasp or a grip do I have on that of my own life? Like how much how much am I in control of my life? And I think we completely are, utterly, right? I think we have to say that. I mean, we have to be that way. But I think the other thing too is just kind of realizing that some things are out of our control. We know that, and that's undoubtedly true. But I suppose what I'm trying to hit at is just like feeling like we are the train director, we are the conductor of our lives, and so kind of the direction that we take that train is of our own decisions, and so what we make of those decisions is going to be the make or break of our kind of mental fortitude, I believe. So, if I'm electing to do something that most people don't do, I have to stick by that decision, right? We have to be very strongly coinciding with the goals of that as well. I think one thing I've noticed too is I haven't been journaling as much. Devoting more time to journaling, I think, would definitely be beneficial because I think you can kind of structure and see your goals and kind of what direction you're heading. And I think it's more beneficial for me in terms of seeing and realizing, kind of what kind of mental production or kind of thought process of learning I achieved within a day. And so that's going to be something that I think I need to pick back up and kind of vigorously re-attend because I feel like things are kind of more oriented and structured in a way that is definitely way more effective in terms of how I'm navigating what I'm doing. And so picking that back up and kind of re-honing that kind of habit, I think is going to be exceptional. The ankle is going great. I have been going to the rehab / like physical therapy thing, whatever. That's going good. It's feeling better. I've kind of taken a break from jiu-jitsu just because the new work has kind of hindered the schedule as far as working there and then trying to attend jiu-jitsu. But I suppose it's kind of okay. It is okay because it's giving my ankle time to heal. And so with that being said, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a great thing, actually. And so as we press closer to the Arnolds, it may give us the opportunity to be able to compete. I'm not saying that for certain yet, but I definitely want to see if things are going to work out as far as the ankle is concerned with competing. But nonetheless, I'll definitely be there watching. But I'm just trying to figure out kind of what I'm going to do and how the ankle feels. I suppose in the worst case scenario, we sign up, right, and then the time comes and then we can't compete. It would suck if that's a loss on our record, but hey, I think I would rather be ready to compete just in case than to not compete. So that's something that we're trying to figure out. We're trying to navigate. That's good. It's getting better, a lot better, really. But the other thing to take into consideration is weight. So I believe we're going to start doing the weight cut process a couple weeks out to get our body acclimated and down to the correct body weight. And so we're going to be navigating that thing with everything else. And I suppose having the foresight of it being a resilient and kind of struggle, we're definitely going to need to mentally prepare ourselves. And I suppose that's part of what's taking place right now with this little podcast. And so I just want to take a moment and say, we had somebody comment recently, and I thought that was amazing. Thank you for commenting. They made a comment about me and John getting back together and doing the podcast, and I thought that was phenomenal. It actually inspired me a lot this week to think more about getting John back on here and kind of like how I'm going to navigate that thing. I didn't really want to go into this whole remote video kind of conference call, Zoom thing, whatever it is, and kind of navigate that thing. But I think it's going to be relatively easy. I think it's just getting it set up in the first place, and then we can kind of navigate those waters. I think it's going to be a lot easier. With time, it'll get easier as well. I'm sure there'll be a couple hiccups right in the beginning, but if I'm under the correct impression, I think I'll be able to set it up in a way that I can just kind of send John a link, and then within that link, he'll be able to just kind of come into the conference call. And so Recording that video should be relatively easy. I'm sure there's a couple different ways I could go about doing that. Plus the platform itself probably provides it. And so yeah, we're going to get him back on here soon, but I do think setting up kind of like a time and a schedule, that's going to be something interesting in of itself. I'm kind of thinking of doing like a calendar-oriented thing with time slot things, and I'm sure anybody that hears that's like, oh my gosh, this guy, like, as listen, I'm just like really trying to get stuff done, and I feel like I'm not getting stuff done because of the cognitive overload, and then I have to give myself breaks, otherwise I'm just gonna freak out, right? I'm just gonna have a mental breakdown, and so I don't want to do that. That's got to be the last thing I want to do. So trying to schedule stuff, it's gonna be important. So yeah, I think this is going to be a quicker, shorter episode. I think we're kind of rapid fire shooting everything out there, which I think is good. I think maybe you guys like that, I suppose we could go even like farther out there and talk about completely random stuff, which is kind of what, is traditional of this podcast. But I suppose, like, again, I feel like this is just kind of filler until we figure out how to get John back on here. But yeah, I think doing the journaling stuff, embracing stuff's hard, a little bit of resilience, a lot of resilience, actually. Patience is virtue, right? That stuff goes a long way, understanding that, kind of whatever it is that we're doing, if it's really hard, that just means that we're learning. We got to embrace the suffering and just keep moving forward, and everything's going to be good. I think there's a saying that Jocko Willenick, I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's an awesome guy, does podcasts as well. He used to be a military guy for sure, and so he has a lot of new branded stuff as far as weightlifting and stuff like that goes, but wakes up every morning, I think at like 4:34 a.m., I think is what it is. And so he's a guy that I suppose I kind of look up to some degree as far as what he's doing with his life and the way he orients himself. He has this saying where anytime anything's good, bad, it's going really bad, like really, really bad, he just says good. And so I think, that's kind of something to kind of anchor myself to within these moments. And if you guys don't know who Jocko is or kind of what he does or anything like that, I think you should go check that out. I think that's worth checking out and kind of seeing what he's about. But yeah, good. If things are going bad, good. It just means that we're learning. It means we're progressing. It means everything is going to work out. And so we just need to take the time to let it work out. Just kind of being within the moment and understand the moment, what it's for, where it's going, why it's going there, And I think, like, even going into this podcast, I kind of thought to myself, like, man, what am I doing exactly? What am I talking about? Why am I doing it? What's the point of talking about it? Who am I talking to? Who am I talking with? Why am I still talking? Like, what could possibly be going on in my head that I'm talking about that people want to listen to? And I think what that is that process of thought and that exact moment. And so I just like getting on here and spurting and like just sporadically talking about the thoughts that kind of intrude my head, I suppose. And so I just hope the world gets better. I hope everything gets better. I think everything's going to get better. It has to get better. And if it doesn't, I can acknowledge the fact that it's all just going to end at some point. And I don't say that to be, I suppose, like really dark and dismal. I just mean, like, I can accept the fact that everything's supposed to end at some point. So that means I just need to work harder, because the stuff that I want to get done and I want to, do, I don't know when I'm going to be done, like being able to try to do the stuff that I'm doing because of the inevitable time factor that has been bestowed upon us as human organisms. And some of that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you liked it. I know we're not really talking about world events or anything like that, but I think you guys know just as well as I do that's not really my specialty. I'm just kind of on here just kind of thinking about what's happened to me throughout the week and what I could do better and that sort of thing. And so I think just finding those patterns, sticking to those habits, those little micro routines, maybe habit stacking, Atomic Habits, that's some recent stuff that we've read within, I'd say the last like 6 months or so. I think doing that stuff, abiding by that stuff, thinking about that stuff, and just getting ready for the upcoming competition, maybe potentially, and just kind of keeping my head screwed on straight and just embracing the suck and saying it's good, it's going to be good, and there's nothing wrong with that. Kind of building that resilience. So, with that being said, thank you guys for listening. If you tuned into this episode, episode number 32, as a matter of fact, of Rolling with Reason. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. If you're listening to this on your commute, I hope it made your commute a little bit better. I know when I listen to podcasts on my commute that aren't this podcast, as a matter of fact, it makes me feel a little bit better about just kind of going into my day, especially if I'm listening to the right people. And so With that being said, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful night, whatever point at time it is that you're listening. I just, I want people to be the best version of themselves, and I just want people to kind of embrace the best version of themselves, even if it's hard, like as it should be, just embrace it and become better. So yeah, bye everybody.
Thanks for listening. Stay resilient, embrace the struggle, and keep moving forward.